Well, I goofed up, everybody. Hi at home. This is episode 308, not 307. I made that mistake.
Hi,
Sorry. Who do we have on the panel?
hi, I'm Mitch.
And I'm Jim.
And you already know me. I'm the geeky hippie who screwed up, but we'll get over that. So welcome back to What the Adaptation. We're the YouTube show that reviews adaptations from one format to another. This week, we're continuing with The Expanse. Like I said, episode 308, It Reaches Out. Let me tell you a little bit about this episode because Max isn't here. It was directed by Ken Fink, who's directed last week's episode, and he's a big director in television. It was written by, guess who, Mark Fergus and Hawk Osby, and it aired May 30th of 2018, so not too long ago. What'd you gentlemen think of this episode?
Fun.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, it is good stuff. This, I think, is actually Miller at his best, is when he's the investigator. I like Miller a lot, but I think Miller as the investigator is a lot more fun.
I can't
both
argue
in the
that
book
at all.
and on the show. Both on the book and the show. So it's nice to have him back as that.
Yep, and
But
I'm particularly fond of the Behemoth storyline in this one.
Sure.
Yeah,
Well,
I like it.
No mistake, Clarissa Mao is here on mine. She shines in this episode. And I just love her
really
storyline, both in the books and on the show. They're a little different, but they're both great story arcs.
Different, but it's still... her storyline is one of those story arcs throughout the books, at least, and on the show, that really epitomizes one of the main themes of the series of books. And that's redemption. And we see it with a lot of characters, but most strongly with her, I think.
Yeah.
And
this is an episode where we see her diving into the need for redemption. She's struggling with what she is committed to do, and oh my goodness, it's tearing her apart already.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and there's one particular scene where she has that doubt, and you just see it in her eyes. We'll get into it, but it's a beautiful bit that she did right there.
So, all right. So let's start off where we usually start. What kind of changes did they do from the book to the show? And did they work for you? Did they not work for you? I'm pretty sure you've got a lot of notes there, Mitch. So we'll start with you.
Yeah, it's following up on what we covered last week. We have characters in the book. Two of them, Bull and Michio, who are not in the show, yet their characters are to some extent, and you have some shuffling of the characters as well. For example, in the books, Ashford is the captain of the Behemoth. You've got Michio as his XO, and Bull as his security chief. And the XO and security chief, their characters have been sort of moved into Ashford in the series rather than into Ashford as the captain. So I think, number one, Ashford being the XO and one of our favorite people of all time, drummer, is the captain, allows, I think, a little more flexibility in how they present these issues that are coming up, particularly in this episode, how these issues are dealt with as they come up.
Yeah, they cleaned it up a little bit for the show. They streamlined these characters a bit, removing some of the complexity, but being able to still hit the key plot points. Makes sense on television. You can't dive as deep into these things. So when I first watched it, I was like, what? Wait, what are they doing? But it grew on me, and it makes sense.
See, for me, it was when I first listened to the book, and I realized, Ashford's not a decent guy. He's a crazy whack job. And so listening to the book, it was like, oh, that's what he was originally.
So you did it the opposite order. You're saying you watched the show first.
I'd seen every episode of the show before I ever touched the first book.
I never do that. Always the source material first.
What? I didn't even know there was a book series when I first started watching the
There
show.
you go. Okay.
Well, when I
yeah.
first heard of the show, and for a long time there, I wasn't even reading. I didn't start reading again until about 4 or 5 years ago. And I think the show was already done by the time I started getting back into books because all I was doing was watching TV. So,
okay. I had seen a couple of seasons before I picked up the books, but I did go through the books before this season and the rest of them. So I did learn the original characters. My problem, of course, is that I've been having to reread to refresh myself because it was so long ago. And, I've got a sieve up here where my memory should be.
Me too. I do it to myself, though. So, yeah, I cause my own short-term memory problems. I've been re-listening to it. That approximate part of the book every week, starting Thursday or Friday, I just keep listening to that over and over until I've listened to it 5 or 6 times, between Friday and Sunday. And I watched the episode like 3 or 4 times in that amount of time. So I'm like feeding myself both versions of it.
Just letting it permeate all the cells.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Normally I'm even listening to it. Yeah, I'm normally even listening to it up until the time I hop in, or even sitting here waiting for Max to let me in backstage before the show. I'm sitting here listening to it. Today I was listening to something different. I was listening to a book that just showed up on Audible that I'd been wanting to read. So, changes for me, I really liked the simplifying of Melba's storyline. Where instead of them detecting from a different ship that there might be a bomb on the Sung-un or whatever, the bomb gets found on the Sung-un by Ren last week. And so everything she's doing there is right there on that ship, I liked how they did it. It simplified it, made it quicker. It just because I was always confused how it happened in the book at first, but the show that segment actually makes more sense, I think.
Oh, it makes much more sense than the book does. Yes.
Yeah. Were there any changes that you didn't like? Anybody?
Not in this.
No?
Not for me.
Not really. I mean, there's some elements on the Rossi that I think would have been fun to have seen on the show. Except that,
like Naomi,
as we know, Naomi's on the Behemoth and not on the Rossi. There's one descriptive piece where they realize that the transmission is out of their control, and I think it says something about her pounding on her console. I would love to have seen that. See her actually frustrated because she can solve all problems, and here she can't. And I think that would have been lovely.
How much attention have you guys paid to the 2 different messages that Holden transmits? The one that Melba wrote, compared to the book to the show, because they aren't the same. I couldn't quote either for you, but they aren't quite the same. Did you have a preference for one over the other?
I think the one in the show is more succinct.
Yeah.
It's shorter in length, and I think gets more to the point, whereas the other one was, the book version almost sounded like a manifesto.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the only thing, but fundamentally, they said the same thing. The ring belongs to the belt.
Yeah. He sounds a bit more of a madman in the book than in the show. Which
madmanish in the show too, though. Yeah, it was there
a little. He did sound very Holden-like in the show. I think the version in the book doesn't come off nearly as much like a Holden maneuver would be. It's Holden, but it's not quite Holden. I don't know. I just have a hard time picturing Holden being that crazy about something and just blowing up a ship. a science vessel at that,
Mhm. Well, and also in the books, it just popped into my head. I don't think we ever read or hear the entire manifesto. We just hear bits and pieces of it. I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think the whole thing is ever spelled out because somebody tuned in to. I think it was a Bull. I think Bull may have tuned into it after it had already started,
Yeah.
and he heard the meat of the issue, but I don't think we necessarily ever got the entire message, particularly in One Piece. Perhaps because I think it was referred to a few times, so the whole message might be there. You just need to piece it together.
Did you have any other changes that you like, Jim?
No, just
Okay.
it all works in this episode. Nothing jumps out as glaringly, wow, that bad choice. No, I don't have anything like that.
Yeah, overall, I think they stuck to the meat of the book fairly well. I mean, besides character changes and things that we've brought up,
things that they really introduced earlier, so we're kind of used to them by now.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference that we're going to be needing to deal with is the fact that Naomi is on the Behemoth, because it introduced storylines that don't exist in the books. Particularly on the Behemoth. I don't know if it made that much difference as to what occurred on the Rossi, but that's there are little things like that. I have some notes about specific items. It's like the code that took over the Rocinante. I think in the books it comes from the card that goes into the computer, whereas in the show, in the book, I believe the card that was put into the computer actually gave her a back way in, because she uploads the code to the Rocinante that disables it. So there is that. That's one difference. I'm not that concerned about the change. Doesn't really matter. Holden. Yes. In the books, Holden does not talk to Miller. In a classic visual, I think you probably have something about it. We'll probably cover it later. But Holden does not talk to Miller, where Miller warns him about the speed limit. Holden already knows about it because of probes that have already been sent in at various speeds. So he's aware of what's going on. So there's that. Once again, that's a little thing. It doesn't really make much difference. The explosion of the Sung-un, in the books, it's a severe explosion, but it doesn't decimate the ship, because there's talk about recovering crewmen and such. The core did get dumped, and I believe it exploded. So there was, a miasma of radiation around, but I believe that the ship itself was not destroyed. It was severely damaged. Right. And also the whole thing about Melba and the what's it called? And Ren's body in the foam, as opposed to being left on the Sung-un. I'm so glad they got away from the book.
Yeah, even without smelly vision, that would have been pretty gruesome. It would have been really bad if there had been smelly vision.
Yeah.
Of course, to be honest, Ren's probably stinking up the Sung-un before it blew anyways on the show. Yes, and he's been left in there.
And did she
hey man, we see you.
Did she need to actually clean up after the murder? Because the damn ship's going up shortly anyway, and it looked like that particular area was not occupied, and it was
Right.
original, or on the show, it's a supply ship. So that is its
On the show,
primary
I thought it
purpose.
was a science ship on the show.
No,
I thought they called it a science.
I thought it was a science ship on the in the books. In the
I
show,
think it's a science ship in both.
yeah, I think in the show it's supposed to be a support vessel, so it only has
Okay.
crew. It has a minimum crew as opposed to hundreds or thousands.
Right. It's not the Edward Prince.
No, no.
So, so are there any particular scenes that are your favorite or least favorite for the episode, or any particular dialogue that you really like? For me, I really like anything with this guy right here, back here,
There you
right
go.
here.
There you go.
There we go. Miller. The entire sequence of scenes with him, especially that sequence where he does it, that line from the book, it reaches out 113 times a second, it reaches out, but nothing answers. In the book, it's a little bit more than that, but I just love that repetition in the book. It reaches out, reaches out, reaches out, it reaches out.
Mhm.
And you hear it a number of times. And I really like them giving that to us on the show.
Yeah, I wanna comment on something related to Miller. There's a reference in his lines here about how it creates him, and then when he exceeds his programming, it destroys him, and then it recreates him. And if you just watch the show, you don't get that. You don't understand what it's saying. If you read the books, you're like, yes, I totally understand that. That's just one of those things that's in there and is beautiful for book readers. But your mind can't capture that, can't comprehend that if all you've done is watch the show.
Yeah. And I think it is explained, but it's explained like next season.
Yeah, way later.
Yeah. It's
not
much
here.
later.
You just can't get it.
Right.
Yeah, you don't get it until season 4.
Now, I love the scene that comes right after the one between Hardin and Miller in the sick bay, the med bay, whatever, when Amos walks in on him, having this argument, conversation, yelling. That scene between Amos and Hardin is priceless.
Yes.
Hey, yeah, Cap, things get hard. It's okay. I gotcha. If you're losing it a little bit, it makes sense. It's all right. Just he has empathy for him. And at the same time, he's kind of like, but do let me know if you're like really losing it, is what he's saying there.
And I think the final line in that particular sequence, Amos tells him, just don't break the coffee machine again.
Right. Again.
So you get that little bit of levity at the end of this really intense scene. It's nicely done.
Yeah. One of my lines that I wrote down, or one of my 2 lines, Amos is like, look, if there's anything you need to get off your chest, I'm not much help, but I also don't judge. And Holden responds, it's a great quality, which is true. Yep. It's like, I can't see Amos being helped, but by not judging and just sitting there listening, he is being a help. Yeah, he just doesn't realize that. But yeah, it's one of my favorite lines.
Absolutely. The chat agrees with us. Yeah, that's a great line.
And then what happens immediately after that?
He goes to talk with Alex, and we're totally judging.
Yeah, they sound like teenage girls. It is
you gotta watch him,
funny.
Especially
he doesn't lose it like that other
Alex.
captain.
Alex is like, you checked out his autodoc logs? Amos, shame on you. That is a serious breach of trust, man.
What did
Come
they
on,
say?
Jesus. So what did the logs say?
Yeah.
It's like exactly. It's like, so
Great.
what did they say?
Totally.
I'm just like, Alex, you're just as bad as Amos.
Now, another scene that I love, and it ties into, again, this picture, Clarissa Mao, as she's dealing with the dead body, you see what she's going through, what she's agonizing over as she's trying to hide the evidence and the toll it's taking on her. And of course, plays right into when she almost crashes the ship, this sort of stuff. She acts this so well. And that plays just that little bit further into the scene that's actually pictured here when Pastor Anna comes to check on her. And that moment, it's so nuanced where she like, you see it in the back of her head. She almost says something.
Yeah.
And then shift. No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
And it's completely different than the book, but I actually don't mind.
Right.
In the book, she actually gets kind of antagonistic and
She's
aggressive.
Told, yeah, I don't need any of this. No, there's no warmth.
She scares Anna
in the book.
She really does scare Anna. Here though, she gets herself under control. I thought she was about to explode. The first time I watched the episode after having read the book, I'm like, she's about to explode here because I didn't remember it that well. And I'm like, oh, okay, no, she didn't. The TV
show
cool.
creates a more sympathetic, relatable Clarissa Mao.
Yes.
The book at this point, she's just all bad guy, all evil, all how can you do this kind of character.
All deranged.
They nuanced her better on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say she's more deranged than evil, but
yeah. And I thought she did have a moment of wondering about what she was going to do in the books, and then shelves it away and says
and continues
to go. Yeah. So she has a moment of self-doubt, but I think that it didn't last long, and very much like this dealing with Anna, how she has that look on her face that you've got there is one of those where I can relieve myself, but no. And so
in the book, my recollection is her existential moment is just before she kills the guy that we see the dead body here in this episode. She's like, I don't want to have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then commits. Nope. He's in the way.
Yep.
Sucks to be you, dude. Sorry.
Yeah. Now on other favorite scenes, on the Behemoth, when Ashford and Naomi and Drummer are toasting
with the Mormon alcohol. No,
right
about that on the TV. That was funny.
Yeah,
I think the glasses were from the Mormons. I think he brought the booze.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes,
but
that's my interpretation.
Yeah, the beauty of this sequence here is that you've got Ashford preaching the wonders of what the belt can become.
Mm-hmm.
Who are we? It's funny how Drummer seems to be this really conservative, old school belter in her mind, and here you have Ashford, who nobody, they've introduced him in a way that we don't like him, and he's making so much sense. So I love how they're playing, with that game with the two characters, and I don't believe they touch on this entire bit about the the future of the belt. That's not even brought up in the book.
No,
that's new canon for the show, and it is really impactful in my mind. Every time I see it, it's just like, here he is optimistic about the future, and here she is, fighting back. She doesn't want to change, in essence.
Which is funny because she seems kind of anti-Fred at this point right now, including some of her comments to Naomi. And she's like Fred's lieutenant, his right-hand woman. But, it's so weird now that I've read the books to say this, but at this point on the show, I like Ashford more than I like Kamina Drummer. Ashford just seems more with it and seems more rational, and is saying things that I like much more than I hear stuff out of Kamina that I like. Heck, even more so than Naomi most of the last couple episodes. He's show-wise right now my favorite belter on the show at this point. But I'm not a fan of many belters, not a fan of many of the Martians either. So, of course, I'm not a fan of many Earthers. So I don't know, man. There's a lot of people not to like
Glenn
this
just
series.
hates everybody.
Yes.
Well, it's funny at this point in time. Naomi has a lot of blind faith in Drummer. So, which, or at least this early
until
part,
like the end of this episode,
the early part of the show, yeah, or this episode, yes.
Yeah. And Ashford, we're supposed to like to this degree. It's setting us up for what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's funny, before what you're referring to, in the meantime, there's a lot of other things about Ashford that we like. So this is just the beginning of it. Episode one, they introduced a character that they intended for us not to like. Okay, we're not supposed to like this guy. That's the way they introduced him. And now we have this arc of, changing your mind about him. And after you've basically told us don't like him, now you're forcing us to reconsider that as he presents himself as a very logical and empathic person too. I mean, he cares about other things. In fact, that is a trait that he carries all the way through to the end as well. It becomes distorted, but it's still something that he carries through to the end.
Sure.
So I think their development of the Ashford character compared to what was in the book Ashford is,
he's a putz.
Yeah, he's nothing. This Ashford is a real good character.
This Ashford is Bull. That's really what we're getting. We love Bull.
Mostly, yeah.
Mostly, right.
For the most part, Bull's been split into two people. It's been given to Ashford and Drummer. And in a lot of ways, Michio Pa's been split between the two of them. With certain things she does, each of them does, instead. Any other favorite lines or scenes in this episode? I have a couple more lines I wanted to bring out.
Yeah, I've got one. Holden is in the galley, and he has this strange moment, and he says, "Are you trying to talk to me?" And all of a sudden, there's Monica.
Yes, I am.
I love Monica.
And she's a very good character, and I think she's far more developed than what we ever saw in the book.
Yes.
Which I think was good. And also having a crew of 2 instead of 4 that she had with her, once again, as you said earlier, Jim, streamlining. It just simplify, keep it clean. But after she has this bizarre conversation with Holden, she walks away and she says under her breath, we're going to win so many awards.
Yep.
Yep.
I had that one written down.
Her motivation.
Okay. She had one of my other favorite lines. Holden tells her, "You need to go," right after he realized something.
Yes.
And she's like, "What? No. Your brain just exploded.
All over my face.
I
have brain matter all over my face," she said.
Yeah. You need to tell me what is going on right now. And I'm like, oh, that's just the way
great.
She said that. I was laughing so hard every time I've seen it.
It's one of the great lines.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned, we are going to win so many awards. That's brilliant. I love that. Okay. So Ben, I asked Ben what his favorite scene of the episode is, and he said when Amos threatens the documentary crew to debug the Rossi, Amos being Amos. And he flips and you go, OMG, what's about to happen? Yeah. So, what were you about to mention, Mitch?
I have one final thing, but it might be more of a special effects thing than
Okay,
anything else.
well,
We should move on to that
let's
question then.
move along to that then. So, how was the quality of all the technical aspects of the episode? We'll start with you, Mitch, since you already have one there.
Yeah, the final shot of the of this particular episode of the missile and the Rosie being meters away from each other, and that missile is encased in the what do I call it? The ring gunk or the ring glue is what I called it.
Slow-mo.
Yeah. I thought it was just a beautiful shot, number one. And it introduces us to, there you go, to the purple haze. And which,
purple haze.
it becomes
purple haze, purple haze. Sorry, just channeling a little Prince there.
Oh, okay. Well, I always go back to Hendrix myself, but this is just it's just so beautiful because the coloring and everything, the ring, the opacity of the ring and that greenish blue that they have there, and then the purple is it's basically on the opposite side of the color wheel, and it's just a beautiful image.
These shots, this shot, even as it moves, the camera moves, for me has been one, like those, when you have an illusion, like a visual illusion that's drawn, or something graphic, where you look at it one way and you'll like see a dog, and then your eyes shift and suddenly it's a person's face. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you ever have it where you can't shift? You can't get it to switch to the other image? That's the problem I've been having with that shot. And it took forever for me to get it to shift. Because to me, it always looks like it's still heading into the ring. Like it's coming down into the ring still.
Oh, yeah. It totally looks like it's heading to the ring.
But see, what we're seeing here is it's already through the ring. And what we're seeing there that we think is the surface of the ring. Yeah.
It doesn't make
so you get what I'm saying. It was like, my brain just was like, that doesn't look right.
Nope, it doesn't.
Until like yesterday, finally my brain, the image just shifted enough for me where I realized, oh, that's the inside of the gate, the wall between gates on the inside of Dandelion Sky. I like that name more than Slow Zone. It's this, that's the surface that you see between each of the gates, and not the actual front of the gate. So we're not seeing, it messed with me, that shot. It's a gorgeous shot, but it messed with me a lot.
I haven't processed the way you're describing, though. It still looks wrong to me when I look at it. I looked at it again this time, and I was
I think what Glenn is saying...
Why are they not back? They should be reversed.
Yeah.
In the way my mind is. I don't get it. It looks like they've been slowed down before they reach the gate.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look at it this way. You see the ring, right? To the left, where the missile is, that is looking back out into Saul's space. On the right, what you're seeing is the inside surface of the ring space.
Yeah.
If you look at it that way, then
they don't give us enough to quite get the grasp of that. I understand what you're saying there. Yeah.
And as it backs out, you see that the purple glow, or it looks like a plume trail, a contrail from the missile. It actually does a 90-degree turn. I didn't catch a shot of it, but it's like a second or two after that, you see that the things comes back like that. Other than that, though, I haven't got any complaints.
I have one. I do this.
What you got?
I gotta say, I love the effects. Everything, the sound, the music. I mean, everything is so spectacular in this show. But there was one thing that actually struck me this time that for some reason hasn't struck me in the past. And that's the sound of the engines in vacuum. Every time they show the ships from the outside and we're decelerating, and we shouldn't be able to hear that. So that bothered me this time. I don't know why it's never done it before.
Almost nothing has ever been filmed for space fiction show, whether TV or movie, where they actually do silence in space.
Oh, I know
almost
that,
nothing.
but this show does the science so well in so many other ways.
All the way back to
So
all the
for
way
this
back to
one
episode
thing
1, though.
to still be done wrong, I'm like, guys, you were so close. So close.
But it's the rule of cool. It's the rule of cool, and they've been using it since the first episode.
I know.
I complained about it back in season 1.
It didn't bother me back then. It caught my attention this time.
Now, isn't it weird? It's so weird when something like that will happen. Particularly if you're watching it, third, fourth time or something like that. Exactly. You pick up something new and you go, "Oh, okay, I didn't catch that one before." But to actually catch something and say, it doesn't work. I never realized
my brain did go there with this episode today, Jim, because I was watching it, and when the Sung-un blew up, I thought to myself, the sound would take longer to get to us. Because it blew up. The sound was simultaneous with the explosion on screen. And as far away as the Sung-un was from any other ship, if it was in atmosphere, you would have heard it
in atmosphere
moments later.
Technically, we never would have heard it.
Yeah. Right. But it's like, so that's what makes it so funny that my brain was like, it should have taken longer. And then I'm like, wait, no, that's space. Rule of cool.
Yeah. But this is such a beautiful show. The choices, the design things, interiors, exteriors, everything is done so beautifully. And the ring, we got some close-ups of the ring, and it's gorgeous.
This shot right here is one of my all-time favorite shots.
The lighting decisions are just
yeah. And I just love that shot. There's another shot. This one here, you know what this makes me think of? Y'all remember the original Clash of the Titans?
Yes.
The Greek gods
the gods looking down. Yes.
Okay.
That's what this makes me think of when I see this shot, especially with the lighting her up, like everybody up. And of course it's a bunch of Earthers. The Greek gods would be Earthers, in the Expanse.
It also reminds me of a Lego robotics competition. We need 2 robots now right in front of them smashing at each other.
Right. Oh, I just noticed, is that Tilly right next to her? I don't remember her in that scene. Wow, I totally missed her in that scene until just now looking at it. I can't remember the actor's name, but I remember her from Warehouse 13. If anybody remembers that show.
I do. Tilly,
she was on there. Oh yeah, I do have the Tilly is Janelle Williams. I forgot I have it open here.
Oh, okay.
I got to get back to StreamYard. There we go.
Oh, I didn't even pick up on her in my notes here.
Yeah, I actually kind of like the character in the books. The character in the books is a lot more fun. I feel bad for the way they played her character, arc in the show, but I actually enjoyed her in the books. She was helpful, especially when she bought the Rossi. I just laughed when that happened.
Yeah, I think the character itself, though, didn't really change that much, and I like that. I mean, there are differences. Friend. Yeah, but
the drinker.
She's still that silly socialite in both of them, and I like that they kept her the way she is.
Okay,
because she's a great foil for Anna.
Yes,
she really is.
Yes. Yeah, there is one thing that they kind of left out of her, but it is TV, so right there. She doesn't do that. Because I always notice when a character's a smoker, because I had that bad habit myself. And you don't see that often in fiction anymore.
No, it used to be
especially
everywhere. Product placement.
Yeah.
You don't know.
It's so funny. I'll tell you guys the story later at backstage. I don't need to sidetrack this anymore. Well,
you do have to remember, in America back in the 50s and 60s, about 50% of adults smoked. So it was huge.
Well, and that was a product of World War II, where all the GIs got free cigs, and they all came back hooked.
Yep.
So let's move on to actors, best and worst. Jim, who do you got?
Oh, come on. It's Wes Chatham again, always. Amos.
Okay.
He nails his time on here, but another character who really shines in this one is David Strathairn. Is that how he says his name? Ashford.
David.
Okay, I love the nuance we see out of him in this episode.
Yep.
He's, as I said last week, I think he is one of those actors that it was kind of a coup for the show to get. You know, like getting Shore Agdashlu or and I forgot his name again. Anderson Dawes. I
don't remember his name now, but I know who you'd mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actors we've seen doing other things.
Yes. Doing extremely, prestige television. I mean, he was on Mad Men for a number of seasons, if I remember correctly. One of the big actors from Mad Men. And Shore is just brilliant. David Strathairn's been in a lot of stuff. It's not the first time I've seen him on Sci-Fi Channel. He was on a show related to Warehouse 13. He was on Alphas.
Yes, I loved him in Alphas. That was cut off.
Set in the same universe. Yes, it was. Not a lot of people notice, but Alphas, Eureka, and Warehouse 13 are all in the same universe.
Really? No, I did not
they
know
all
that.
crossed over. Yep.
Oh,
One of them crossed over with both of the other two. So that connects them.
Okay.
So
and you can throw Thomas Jane in the in that mix too, as far as character actors that they got that just excelled.
Yeah. Thomas Jane, he's also been a leading man in a couple of projects at least. I believe he was the lead on the show on HBO. I think it was HBO called Hung. That might have been a different network, but I remember a friend of mine was watching that, and actually, apparently, another friend of ours, his sister, used to write on that show. Supposedly, I haven't looked it up. Mitch or Jim, did you have any other characters?
In Deep Blue Sea. It's one of the best movies of all time.
I don't know if I've seen that one. Or is that the one with Samuel Jackson?
Yeah, he has a small part in it, Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
LL Cool J has a fun
surprise
part in that show.
Yeah. Samuel Jackson has a surprise ending in that episode, that movie,
does.
Right?
I've watched that movie way more times than I should admit. It's just entertaining.
Nothing
as
wrong
long
with
as it's
that.
not that movie about the married couple that gets stranded without a boat way out in sea, my brain would freak out trying to watch that movie. Deep Blue or something like that, I think it was called.
I don't think I've seen that one, and I don't.
And it's based on a real life story. A couple that disappeared. They found their boat, but they were gone. Man, I'm just like, oh no.
And on that depressing note, what should we move on to?
Well, I was going to bring up my actors.
Okay,
David Strathairn's already been mentioned. He's just been so good. I don't bring him up often, but I really got to give some props to Stephen Strait as James Holden this episode. Okay. I think this is one of Strait's better performances as Holden. But number one for me is Nadine Nicole as Melba Coe, as Clarissa Mount. I just thought she was this episode was just some of her best work yet.
Yes.
And it's only 2 episodes she's done so far where we're at, but I just thought she was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And in honor of Max, I do have to mention, this right here, the hat, that pork pie hat. Max always likes to bring up something inanimate. Well, the hat was brought up a couple of times. It was brought up a couple of times by Holden, so yeah, the hat's pretty cool, especially,
What's with the hat?
Oh, yes. Keeps the rain off my head.
That was a great line.
Well, I guess we're going to move on to what everybody says is my favorite subject on here, category. What are the themes people picked up on in this episode? Should we just go straight to Jim, Mitch, or you got one for me?
I I teased one out. I
Okay.
don't know. As I said, this isn't my strength. Uh, Trust issues.
He just
That was
took
the
mine.
big one I
Wow,
wrote.
that's amazing. He's not good, and I literally have written "trust me" as the theme.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
It's
Yeah.
So you nailed it, Mitch. There you
Holden
are.
to Amos, trust me, and
Mhm.
and then we also have the trust that Naomi has in Holden in
Yeah.
defending him that he did
that
not do
wasn't him.
this. He did not do this. She trusts him and she knows him.
When Holden finally coming to be willing to trust this Miller image, whatever this thing is, he's finally come to peace when he gets enough knowledge that, wait a second, I'm not losing it. There's something to this, and
Mhm.
trusts it enough to act upon it.
Right.
You
You got
got all that, but Monica's also trying to get Holden to trust her. She's trying to get him to open up, and by doing that, she's trying to get him to trust her.
Mm-hmm.
But she's a journalist after a wood, so a lot of people probably think you can't trust
you
her.
haven't read the books. When you're watching it, you're also wondering, and is she trying to hit on him and get into bed with him? There was some intensity there. She's right up close, and Naomi's on a different ship now. So that was interesting. I noticed this time.
Yeah. And then in trust issues, you have those that don't. Drummer, for example, does not trust Ashford as far as she can throw him. And she doesn't trust his dream. That I covered that earlier about, the future of the belt. And she doesn't trust that that's the right thing for the belt.
She's very pessimistic here.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
She's trying to be the cynic when Ashford was promised he could be the cynic.
Right.
As he mentioned last week's episode.
That's right. He specifically says that, doesn't he?
Yes, I was told. Ederson told me I could be the cynic on the ship.
That's a great line.
Other trust things going on. Alex trusted Amos's judgment on whether he should listen to the captain. When Holden's trying to tell him, go for the ring, and Alex is, are you crazy?
Right.
It was Amos telling him to go for it. And at the same time as, there's trust, and then there's people not trusting, and then there's Amos breaking trust, which he admitted to, and Alex called him out for it, for busting into Holden's medical records. That's an issue of trust. Yeah, I mean, literally was used. The word trust is used there. What does Norman Garden say here? How could anyone not trust the best space pirate? I mean, especially when played by David Strathairn.
Yeah.
I had another theme. Did you have another one, Jim, or was that yours too?
No, that's all I've got. That's really all I came up with on this one.
Sorry, I stole the thunder.
You're all good.
You're good.
When you're right, you're right.
Yeah. This one kind of relates to trust, and in a way, tangentially at least, and secrets. There's a lot of people who have secrets right now. Melba obviously has some secrets going on. She's hiding secrets. Cohen has a big secret he's hiding. The fact that, he's helped Melba out, Clarissa Mao. And then Holden's got his secret of talking to Miller. He doesn't let anybody know until the very end of the episode, practically, that, Miller told him, when in the book, everybody on the crew's known about Miller for the past year. So, it's been a while. But yeah, secrets came out. A lot of secrets going on here. And that is related to trust.
Yeah.
Anybody got anything else? Any other notes not related to any questions?
Well, I made a big boo-boo this week. Usually I fill in my book notes where I cover things that are in the book that we don't necessarily see or could be related to what's changed. for some reason, it's empty. I feel so
no.
bad. I feel so bad.
I didn't do a breakdown. I usually do a scene by scene breakdown. Every time we cut to a new scene, new location. But I didn't this week. I actually was kind of lazy about that this week. About getting ready. I didn't listen to it as many times as I normally do. I did watch it as many times as I normally do. I had one thing I was going to mention earlier, and we kind of didn't get sidetracked, but we moved on from where it would have been appropriate, more appropriate. But I have an issue with how they had Clarissa clean up her mess after killing Ren, after getting rid of Ren's body. I don't understand why she took off her own shirt to mop up all that blood. She has a shirt on a dead body, and as Amos told us a couple episodes ago, dead people don't need their shit. So, why didn't she just take the shirt off of the dead guy, stuff him away, and then clean up his blood with his shirt?
You make a point.
Yeah.
And I gotta wonder what she did with her bloody shirt too. We never saw her get rid of it, so I don't know what she did with it.
Yeah, and Stenny never asked her about why she's wearing her undershirt without her regular shirt. Or
well, he does give her shit about it. He's harassing her about not having her coveralls. The company will charge you for your coveralls if you don't turn them in. So he did mention it, but he didn't question her. He didn't really. He seems not to care why. He just likes to complain that it happened, or give people shit for what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's what this Stenny is like.
He wants to punch the clock, and that's it.
Yeah.
No.
I kind of like the actor, but not for his role on this show. He was on one of my favorite science fiction shows a while back, Orphan Black. Anybody remember that show?
I have not watched that.
Oh. Orphan Black is amazing, with one of the most brilliant acting performances. Well, 5 or 6 of the most brilliant acting performances I've ever seen out of one actor. Tatiana Maslany just blows it away in that show. I strongly encourage anybody to watch Orphan Black. So
Orphan Black. Okay.
Yes. All right. Looks like we did it all, guys. We wrapped this up, and we did it without Max and without the rest of my team. I can't believe I pulled this off. I did mess up at the beginning, but we'll get over that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me tonight. Thank you guys at home, especially you, Ben, and you, Norman Guard. Thanks for watching. Please come back next week and leave us some likes and some comments, and subscribe if you're not subscribed. And hey, don't forget to be awesome.
Bye.